Hi everyone. I just wanted to share with you what's happening in my life and what happens next. Obviously, I would have hoped to share this with you in church, but obviously because of COVID, it has to be done virtually. I thought it was really important to just share where I'm at and what happens next. So many of you will know I'm currently, or have been, candidating over the last 18 months or so for Methodist ministry. And what candidating is it's an opportunity for the Methodist Church, as well as myself, to test my call for ministry. And over the last 18 months, that's included doing essays, it's included psychological assessments, trial services, multiple interviews, and even, in my case, writing a song. And this has been going on whilst I've been continuing teaching. So I've been a reception teacher whilst candidating for ministry. And at times this has been challenging, fitting everything in. But I have to say the process has been an affirming process. And I feel a call to this specific type of ministry. One of the questions I was asked as part of the candidating process was, why the Methodist Church? Why, when the Methodist Church is in decline, do you want to put yourself forward for this type of ministry? And it's a question I wrestled with. I've been part of the Methodist Church all of my life, and it seemed and is the most natural place for me to become a minister. However, I still had some doubts, and I was thinking about this, and I went to a service at St John's Methodist Church, where a man called Mike Rayson was leading the service. Now, many of you will remember Mike. He's a singer-songwriter, and he's also a pastor of a church in America. And he came to Himley Road a couple of times to share his music, his testimony, and to preach. An inspiring story. I recommend his music. But he was preaching that evening, and he was talking about Wesley's life, John Wesley's life. And he was talking about a man who was very religious, and always wanted to get it right. John Wesley always wanted to get it right, but quite often he didn't. For example, when he was in America, he fell in love with a girl who actually then got engaged to another man. He was so annoyed by this that he refused to marry them. And because of that, the whole area was in uproar, and he had to flee that area and come back to Britain. It was shortly after that incident that famous phrase comes from, where John Wesley said his heart was strangely warmed. And it was that point that John Wesley realised more of God's love for him. He realised what it meant for the Holy Spirit to be living inside of him. And from that point, John Wesley still got things wrong, but God used him to spark a revival in England and beyond, and used him powerfully to bring many to come to faith in Jesus Christ. And Mike's message was, well, if God can use Wesley, then surely he can use the Methodist Church. The Methodist Church is not dead. Surely God can use it still. And that really spoke to me. And pondering over that sermon over the last few days, I felt that God was saying to me to candidate for Methodist ministry at this stage. So I've been accepted for pre-ordination training for a presbyteral ministry in the Methodist Church. To cut the jargon, from September, I'm going to train to be a Methodist minister. And what that looks like is this. So for 2 years, I'll go to a place called the Queen's Foundation in Birmingham, where I will have theological training. I already have a theology degree from my time at Cliff College, so I'll be studying a master's there for 2 years. And next week, my family and I will be moving onto campus at Queen's, which is really exciting, to be part of the community there. following the 2 years at Queen's, I then become a probationary minister. And it doesn't mean I've just left prison. It basically means it's a bit like on-the-job training for 2 years. I've heard it likened to the NQT year for teachers, if you are familiar with that. Basically, they do all the job. So for ministry, I'll be doing the weddings, baptisms, funerals, etc. But they just have a little bit more support, teaching and guidance over those 2 years. And then after those 2 years of probation, so 4 years in total with the theological training, I will hopefully be ordained as a Methodist minister. So there's a little bit of where I've come from and where I am up to now and where I'm going in the future. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you. Firstly, thank you to my lovely wife and children for supporting me through this process. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And also, thank you to all of you. Thank you so much for your support, your prayers, your love and your guidance, not just over the last 18 months when I've been candidating, but also all of my life. Thank you for seeing God's gifts in me and for supporting and encouraging me. Finally, thank you to God, without which all of this could not happen. I'm so thankful that God's got a plan for my life, as I know He has a plan for everyone's life. And I'm excited to see where this takes us. Finally, as we move on to this new phase of life, can I ask you to continue to pray for me and my family as we take the step of faith? Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully I'll see you at some point soon. God bless and take care.